This episode is brought to you by Henry the Adjustment. Honesty when you need it the most.
All right, so today we are discussing a viral video of a school bus beating of a 9-year-old child by a much older 15-year-old student. With school safety being such a big issue, there's so many red flags here, and there's so much to unpack, so we're just going to jump right into it. Do we have a video to show our audience what we're talking about?
We do.
All right, so let's get that video to
Brutal
our
beating
audience.
of a 9-year-old girl on a school bus. Tonight, we're hearing from school board members one day after a 15-year-old boy was charged with criminal battery in the disturbing attack. The alarming video quickly went viral and had some parents asking what, if any, safety measures are in place for kids during school bus rides.
CBS 4's Peter Dench joins us live from Coconut Palms K-8 Academy with some answers. Peter.
Well, Elliot Lawrence, school board members who we spoke with, two of them are urging students to resolve their conflicts before resorting to violence. They also say they are continually looking at ways to upgrade training for bus drivers. Now, I warn you that this cell phone video case is difficult to watch. School board members Luisa Santos and Steve Gallen tell me they are deeply troubled by this cell phone video from on board a Coconut Palm K-8 Academy school bus in Homestead. A 9-year-old girl is repeatedly punched. They say there is only so much school bus drivers can do to stop such violence.
Our bus drivers go through thorough professional development. Bus aides do as well. We actually, in our bus driver and bus aide handbook, have very clear instructions that safety is number one. And of course, it's hard to say from a few second clip. So that's why there's an investigation right now.
Gallen says this is an unusual incident and says bus drivers are trained thoroughly.
But it is a very, very difficult job when you have an issue that erupts on a bus while you have students that are being transported and the bus driver has to watch what is in front of them, but they do have protocols and procedures.
Gallen says the school board is constantly looking at ways to improve that training.
I think expanding training with our staff is always the first option, but one of the things we have to do is make sure that these incidents don't happen.
This mother, who wants to be called Jenny, says her 10-year-old son was also injured in this attack, along with her daughter. She spoke about the 15-year-old boy now charged with criminal battery.
Estou em choque.
I am in shock. I am in shock. I can't tell you that I'm happy because that's a child that's losing his childhood.
Santos and Gallen said in the wake of this incident, parents must talk to their children.
We want our students to work through conflicts appropriately. Violence has no place on a school bus. It has no place in a school, in a classroom.
Now, Miami-Dade School Board member Luisa Santos represents this area of Miami-Dade County. She says she wants parents to know that the investigation will be a thorough one, and she says safety is a top priority. We are live in Homestead. Peter Dench, CBS 4 News.
Wow.
That's shocking.
Absolutely.
It's disturbing. I'm not gonna say shocking because we know these things happen, but it's extremely disturbing, especially considering the age gap here. That's a child. It's a 9-year-old child and a 15-year-old student. Go ahead.
Well, here's some of the facts that we know, right? The kids
Right.
were enrolled in a school for 3 weeks.
Right. The
Right.
kids that were the victims. Right.
So
And the new kids always get picked on.
but they've been there for 3 weeks, and throughout the 3 weeks they've been bullied.
Mhm.
Right. The parents went to the school board. The school board brought them back to the principal.
Mhm.
Okay. The principal, what has the principal done to address?
That we don't know.
We don't know. But
No, but
was
we there has been. I mean, like here, I have an article here that is from the New York Post, and it says that the boy, her older brother, who's 10 years old, was also beaten up a week before. Now, he was also beaten up on the same day, it seems, right? Because he was trying to defend his sister, and but the week before is what I'm a little stuck on here, because that's where. So here we go. Let me share this part. Whoa.
So
where'd
while
it
you're
go?
sharing that, if the child was beat up a week before, where was the child beat up on the bus?
Well, mother shared disturbing footage that her son was beaten on the same school bus her 9-year-old daughter was attacked on a week later.
Okay.
So the daughter was attacked a week later. The 10-year-old boy was attacked a week earlier. And this was actually from the Daily Mail. And also, I think it was, so here is the Daily Mail. See, the Daily Mail says, can reveal that the son was attacked just a week before in an identical incident. Maybe not by the same boy, but there was bullying on the bus.
Right. Regardless, not by the same boy. So now we don't know if the parent went to the school with this, right? I mean, maybe she went to the school. Or did the bus driver do anything? Right? Did the bus driver write an incident report? Was there an incident report given to somebody to talk about this with the principal, with the kids' parents as bullying people? I mean,
well, I mean, those parts are kind of. I mean, here's the thing: if the bus driver did do an incident report, this is what we're coming to find out. What does it actually do? It just reports the incident, right? But it doesn't go and penalize the student or anything like that. So we don't know if they did anything. They probably did their job as best as they are capable of doing it, and nothing gets done.
No, Bill, but you did say that the mom went to complain with the school board, and then the school board told her to go back to the principal.
Yeah, that's in an article that I read.
Yep,
yes.
I read that too. So
we have to look at who's accountable for this, right? Because there has to be some accountability. They're tossing it back and forth. The school board's tossing it to the principal. We don't know what the principal's done because none of that is actually, we don't see that public record anywhere. I haven't found anything online anyway. Right. To see if he reported or the principal had reported anything. So, there's a missing link there.
The school board is supposed to be responsible, along with the school, for safety. When an issue is brought before the school board, what is the process that they go through for investigation? Why is this kid still in school? Why is this kid's parents not being brought up on charges? Or will it? I don't know. Right? You have.
I mean, that's for our SAO to determine, right?
Right, but
our state attorney.
Where does this stop?
So she's going to definitely charge him for criminal battery, criminal battery charge.
And I think that's kind of. I think that's kind of where it should go.
He has to appear before court, so that is going to be in the saga of this whole story. But one thing is, I didn't understand why the aide. Okay, so let's say the school bus driver cannot stop the bus, right? But the school bus aide should have gone back there. First of all, the kids are not in their seats,
right?
Obviously, right? And the school bus aide should have called them out on that and said for them to sit down, especially in a situation where the bus driver cannot stop the bus. So,
but
that means the bus is moving. Kids must be seated. We've been on tour buses before. Adults yelled at for not sitting down.
But
when kids are on the school bus where there's no seatbelt, or that I know of,
that's the extent of what they could do. Go ahead, Bill.
I grew up in a time where when you were in trouble in school, you got paddled.
Well, that ain't gonna happen anytime in this century.
This whole new generation of making everybody just wimps and crying and complaining leads to what you see right now. Right? I mean, I got in trouble in school. I got paddled. I didn't want to get paddled again because that teacher really gave me a smack on the ass. Right? But these kids have no consequences. And the school board and the teacher, the school board, the principal, they just throw it all up in the air and blame each other. The kid's got to get out of school. The kid needs to seek mental help. I mean, we have to provide solutions to help the parents, or maybe even have the parents charged if the battery is bad enough. I mean, that was really violent.
Like in this case, yeah.
Right. So why are we investigating the home? Are we seeing what kind of life these kids live at home? Because who knows what the future holds for these kind of kids, right? They can become juvenile delinquents and they can go further. And
well, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So when are we going to start holding people really accountable? We don't. We just say we have rules and regulations. What Louisa said, that they have rules and regulations.
One step at a time, though, right? So what I'm saying is, first of all, that video was 8 or 10 seconds or something like that, where the kid was constantly being beaten up, right?
Yeah.
Kids were screaming on the bus.
Yeah.
Right? The aides did nothing.
Nothing.
Or the aide, right? Maybe
Right,
there's
but-
only one aide.
But
So
but
whatever
maybe
the aide was there for, that's one
It-
person that has to be accountable for something.
in defense of the
Right.
aide, I'm not trying to defend the aide. Now, according to Louisa, like you said, policies and procedures, to the extent of their capabilities, all they can do is say, "Hey, have a seat." They're not going back. They can't go back there and put you in the seat. They can't go back there and separate the
You
students.
didn't hear any video, any part of that
Yeah.
video saying sit down, or anything
Right,
like
or
that,
maybe
right?
they, so maybe they did their job, but at the end of the day, that's all they could really do. So
Well, they could have got up. They could have got up and made a presence in there. To
Yeah.
try to, you don't have to touch the
Had to at
kids.
least break
that's
that
another
fight
thing
apart.
that needs to be changed. If you see two kids going at it, now unfortunately, you depending on the person, right? If the aides were women, and especially elderly, elder women, they may not, want to get involved.
Might not
right?
have the energy to do it.
Right, but
yeah, I might not. Yeah,
physically,
I'm not
you're
strong
putting them
enough.
in danger too. Because when you get a 15-year-old boy now, that boy is almost a man. So some of those punches could hurt, right?
Yeah.
If he's violent,
Hurt.
bus
I think
driver,
the little girl probably has a concussion, seeing that she has headaches and is vomiting.
right?
So
right.
those are
So
pretty
the-
good signs of concussion right there.
Yeah, so the bus driver and the aide is at a disadvantage, clearly. You can't put your hands on the kids. You're probably not strong enough to put your hands on the kids to break up anything. But I mean, she should have been on a loudspeaker. They have a PA system on the bus. I mean, yelling at the kids to sit down, something that shows that they were trying to do something.
if
Right.
you're, I mean, yeah, and again, they to the aide's credit, the aide, not the bus driver, because she's probably still, he or she is probably still driving. The aide's probably like, please have a seat, please have a seat. But what you're hearing is kids, students yelling. They're probably crowding into the center aisle. They're probably blocking the aide from having access to the back of or to the fight. So the aide has to now violate their job policies and procedures and put hands on kids to move them out of the way. And she's like, I'm not doing that, because then if I do help, I lose my job.
Yeah.
If I don't help, I lose my job. I might well lose my job without, bruises
Well,
and scratches. And
But see, now now it says also that the school bus driver is going to be investigated. Well, if you can't do anything, what are you being investigated for? It's
I
just
agree.
Another
I
finger
agree.
being pointed somewhere else, so that everybody takes the blame off of the real problem. So here's what I see as someone that will be running for office again, and someone that's a member of the community, a father, everything else. Our school board members sit behind, like corporate America, they sit in the Oval Tower, right? The ivory tower everybody talks about. And you have people down on the ground working every day. And they don't understand what goes on down here. They make policy up here. They think about whatever they want to think of up here. But down here is what all the action's happening.
100%.
These school board members, and I don't know if they do or not. I've never seen one on any of the buses my kids were on, and I've never had one when I was a kid growing up on a bus. Why aren't they periodically getting on a school bus and actually getting involved in what happens?
You know why?
Especially in an area, and they could be accompanied by a cop, right? But why don't they start getting involved? Involved is the key to solving problems. If you're not involved, you're not solving shit. Right? You're just another mouth that sits in the ivory tower barking out orders of nothing. Right? Why aren't they walking?
I mean, if they can take kids to drag shows at a gay bar, they could definitely go on it right on the school bus.
That's more important to
But
them.
I mean, like, no. With that said, like, I mean, a lot of parents complain about like the inside of like these public school bathrooms that school board members aren't doing anything about either. So I mean, there's a lot of things that they're not doing, right? And we don't really know what they're doing apart from spending a lot of money on something that we don't see results on. So
They're
They
pushing,
spend money. They spend money on investigations.
they're pushing
We'll
woke
investigate.
agendas
We'll-
because
we'll-
that's the cool thing today.
Yeah,
right?
we'll investigate and put out agendas and no hate in this place policies, but they
Yeah,
really
yeah.
don't mean much. There's no substance to any of this stuff. So
Right. No
Listen, I
hate.
mean,
No-
like, I agree with you about the school board members, but I also think that, like, there has to be, I mean, I don't see any adult intervention, right? So there are 15-year-olds on the bus, but there are adults, and there are 2 adults specifically, right, that are on the bus. They have to put their hands on them, but they could go in there and tell them to stop, or walk in there and interrupt, or stop that fight that's going on. And I can imagine, like, them not being present or not knowing. It's not like they were just like tying that girl up. There were screams inside the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the brother was also trying to stop that fight, right? And he was also being beat up separately from another boy. I don't know which boy that was, and that of course was not on video, so we don't know who he is. We just know this kid that's beating up the girl. So that's one thing. Like maybe certain policies inside of the school boards need to change inside of like when a fight breaks out. What do? Do they stop, call the police? Like, I mean, like I look through the bus driver and the aide handbook, right? There's when you search for the word here, let me share that screen. 1 second. So this is the aide handbook. Right? And you search for fight, only it shows up 3 times. Right? So hitting, fighting. Okay, that's emotional handicaps. Fight between students on board. And then the only thing that they tell them to do is to file a case. So like let the fight happen and file a case.
Well, it's like fire, don't fire.
What if a kid used like a pencil to stab somebody? Or a pen, right? I mean, like whatever they use these days, right? I mean,
they're gonna tell you to put a ban, whatever they use these days.
Whatever they use these days, right? I mean, like there are restrictions of what could be on board the school buses and what cannot.
These kids are making shanks on the buses.
Pens and what about a metal? What about a metal ruler? Look, I have a metal ruler, right? I mean, like you can do some damage with this stuff, right?
Well,
so,
Lynn, well, how about this? Why aren't they allowed to have stun guns?
Who, the bus drivers?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's considered a weapon, though.
Yeah, that you're exacerbating.
Well, I mean, a taser is considered a weapon, right?
Well,
it's
have them properly trained.
Yeah, but you're now you're gonna have a parent like who you shot.
If I seen my kid beating the shit out of another kid on a bus and the bus driver tasered him, I would be happy.
You can see how that can start to be abusive on the adult part, right?
Yeah, you're what?
You
could see that. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you on this, Bill, but the rest of the world will disagree with us. We are in that small population of people.
If a kid gangs up with somebody else, takes the taser from the aide, and starts tasing the aide and the driver, then we're in big trouble. So I mean, like I don't agree with having any, I mean, unless there's we can't afford to have a police officer on every single bus, right? Definitely not. But I mean, like the aide should have there should be a policy in about them breaking up some kind of fight. Like it shouldn't have to go that far. Like the kid recording. I mean, other kids stopping them, they could be afraid of being beat up too, because the brother was trying to help the girl and he got beaten up.
But the kids aren't going to do nothing today because now is the time to go viral, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, you broke up the fight, right? Somebody would have grabbed that 15-year-old, but then he might have beat the hell out of that 15-year-old for beating the hell out of a 9-year-old. But
that's how we feel.
The fight would have been broken up, right? But also, I don't remember. I mean, kids. Well, we're all kids, right? We're all mischievous. We're all bad. We all got into fights. We all did what we did. But I don't remember it being such a violent time like it is today. Like today, this is accepted more. Like my parents, if I got a call from the school bus or the principal or school board, I would have got home and my father would have beat the hell out of me. There would have been I would be. And this goes
today he'd be, somebody would call child services on him.
The kids were like, "Dad, you touched me, you're going to jail." Right?
Exactly.
What happens is we have two things here: government overreach and relaxed policies. The government has overstepped and put in place these policies that don't do anything and restrict the parents from actually doing what you said your dad did.
Disciplining their kids.
Correct.
Yeah.
I bet you, if you look at the school board's budget and the shitty money they spend on things that are not relative to the school, there's enough money to put a police officer on every bus in the morning.
True.
I bet you there is.
Yeah, if we stop spending on stupid stuff.
How much money do we spend on all? We don't even know what these budgets are and where they spend money.
No, so
right?
this is where the money's being spent, right? The administrators, the principals, and and these superintendents, right? Like,
And
Yeah.
policymakers and
and I
all
get
these.
that, and I get that those people are important, but like, I mean, like
But if
the
your job's
discrepancy between the pay of all these people is just too big. Like, I
big.
think that.
Well, Bill said something the other day that's paramount to this. It's like, if you're not doing a good job, then you need to be fired. You don't need to be making that much money if the results are showing this. They're making a lot of money, but the results are kids are underperforming. They're not safe in school. The money is mismanaged, obviously, with what's been going on in Broward, school board politics recently. So there's a lot of red flags there that we should be paying attention to. And at the end of the day, if your kids aren't safe and they're not learning, we need new people in these positions. We need some zero tolerance policies. We need people to be held accountable for things. If a kid gets in a fight and he's been written up on something, he needs to go through all the, be expelled from school. The juvenile justice system needs to step in place. All these things need to happen. And until they do, there's no amount of policy writing that's going to fix the situation.
Right. And the problem.
No,
we have with
I
all
think
of that-
also. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Rock, paper, scissors. Just go
The
ahead.
problem we have with all of that is all of those systems are broken, which leads to the kid still being broken when he's done.
100%.
We need to reform. We need politicians that really want to do something. We need school board members that want to accomplish. We need teachers unions that want to do shit right. We need people that are going to fix problems instead of just having a job, getting paid, and pushing the blame everywhere else they can. And then some court procedure happens or whatever happens. The kid goes to juvenile. He gets screwed up more in juvenile, comes out even madder, and he becomes a career criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's something that's missing also, right? Like, let's go back to the fact that, like, the kid was beaten up the week before. The mom had already filed something with, the school board, and then was tossed over to the principal. Now, these reports and these temporary suspensions should happen like within 24 hours. Like, that kid should not be allowed back on the bus unless he was already suspended, which we don't know of, right? And like, what's happening after that? Like, there's no deadline, there's no sense of urgency on these issues of safety for children. And that's also a big missing for me. I think that if a kid caused a fight, they should be suspended from the bus, right? And they should be suspended from school. Like, at least they should be suspended from the bus if they haven't caused any issues inside the school, right? So that should be something. And also retaliation. Like, if he got suspended from the school bus, he might get pissed off at the girl again, like for telling, right? I mean, this is like the normal logic of what kids do at school and their normal behavior. Basically, they're going to be like, "Oh, so you told me on me, didn't you?" Right? Like, I'm going to kick your ass again, right? So that's what's going to happen. Like, what are the schools putting in place to make sure that any further incidences will not happen?
You know what we need in every county? We need a military school in every county.
Here we go back to the military again. No, I agree with that, right? The discipline.
It could be a public military school, but when a kid like that has that much anger and aggression, juvenile is not going to help him. You suspend him from the public school system, you put him into the military public school system, and you let those kids be taught by someone that can kick their freaking ass. And they can't get away with this shit.
Look, I mean, I'm a big advocate for junior ROTC that is available from middle school onwards. But the thing is, like, what the rule we have on that is because, drafts are not mandatory. So that's why if you want to enroll in a junior ROTC program, you actually have to voluntarily sign papers to go in, and your parents have to agree to that too. Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's so many restrictions inside of everything. I mean, red tape everywhere, right? Like, basically, we're not. And the truth is, though, Bill, it's not the schools and the law enforcement that is going to dictate how your kids are. It should be the parents.
It should be the parents. But
don't. If the parents are going to choose them to go to military school, that should be it. But it shouldn't be, like, because we're trying to put a disciplinary act on a child, that the government has the right to place them in certain specific schools.
But
Now, the law, if they break the law and they're a juvenile, definitely let's see what our state attorney is going to say about that and how far this case is going to go. But I still say parents have the right, first and foremost, in anything, right? And any restrictions that take their rights off of them, or away from them to discipline their kids, that's another story.
well, my aspiration is to run for governor at some point, right?
Hmm.
So you better believe I get myself in that governor spot. This school and education and prison reform and all of this stuff, there's nobody going to be able to buy me. This stuff is going to get fixed. I can't stand how we just go in circles and circles and circles when there are obvious solutions to all of these problems.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to face them because we'd rather talk about the woke agenda and the transgenders and all the things that keep all the distractions out there. Meanwhile, we have serious problems like this happening in our neighborhoods.
Not to mention our kids are, reading, writing, and math standards are very low.
Very low. And we talk about school safety. All we talk about in school safety is guns.
Yeah.
This is real school safety that's happening every day.
Yeah, that kid didn't have a gun.
Is one in one, whatever that statistic is. This is happening every day in some school.
Yeah.
This is where real school safety has to start happening.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I mean,
Totally.
bottom and again, in conjunction with this is parental accountability. I think with this young man getting with him being charged now with a criminal battery juvenile, his parents should get an adult citation. I think parents need to have that attached to them so that way they keep their kids in check.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that kid was disciplined at some point in time by the school, and then he went home and nothing was done. So he goes back to school. Nothing's really happening at
Parents
school.
don't even care what their kids are doing, Mo. They're not
Exactly.
involved in their kids' lives. Some of these parents are as bad as the kids.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So I
mean, I actually want to ask our audience now, right? Like, what
Yeah.
do you think? Like, what do you think about this? What is your input after hearing our comments, right? Because I think we've talked about who's accountable for this. We've talked about parental, accountability.
Mhm.
We've also talked, Bill, you also talked about what you wanted to share. You remember that?
Well, my one solution, a quick solution right now is I think that these school board members, they need to get involved by being part and active in each school, right? They don't need to sit
Right,
there
the school board to be
They need
be immersed in the problems and
Right.
really get involved, right?
And they need to go to these schools that are known problem schools. Don't walk around the schools in upper middle class neighborhoods where there's nothing really happening. You do that
Right.
once in a while. These schools where you have known trouble kids,
Yep.
get off your ass and go to the school and watch, observe. Don't let anybody know you're there. Don't make it so that the school announces we have a school board member here so kids get on a good behavior.
Yep.
Walk in there and observe and write notes and then bring it back to your principal. Talk to the principal about what you see. Bring it back to the school board for solutions.
Right. I mean, for me, I think that, I think accountability is important, and also like disciplinary action that has to take action right away. I mean, I know everybody's innocent until proven guilty. In this case, you have a video. I don't know, however that's caused, right? But
Right.
there should be some action taken to stop this action right now versus like
Absolutely.
having it continue and a week later something else happens, right? I mean, there has to be something that's put in place. I
Well-
mean, Mo, what do you think?
Listen, I've gone through the system. I've taught in the system. I'm outside of the system now. Well, inside of it still as a parent. It's extremely alarming. So I know what I do at home in order to make sure my kids don't become like that kid. My kid will probably be a victim before he's the aggressor, right? So with that being said, is other parents need to step up. I want to say that it's the school's responsibility to keep our kids safe, but at the end of the day, they can't. So it's incumbent upon the parents to be held accountable if their own child is being aggressive in school. I think policy needs to be put in place that the child is going to be punished. And if your child repeats this behavior again or it becomes criminal, then now you're criminally liable. And I think that's the only way that we minimize it. It'll never stop, but we can bring it to a lower level of occurring if we have more parental accountability and actual zero tolerance policies versus, again, slap on the wrist and the kids back in school the next day.
Excellent. So, I mean, like, now I think it's up to our audience. I want to hear what you guys think about this whole incident, and if you have kids in the system, and what you would do.
Yes,
And
please
what you,
comment below.
and if you agree or disagree with either three of us. All
Yeah.
right.
So please comment below. Along with your comments, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. All right.
Thank you, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.